charge. All right, folks, let's go. We don't have much time.
You heard him, man. Let's move some plastic.
Oh, my. Looking good. Good work, fellas. Whoa, hey, impressive. Oh, I can hardly wait. Other way, Rex. Oh. Slick, so long.
Hurry up!
Yes, dear.
My arms are getting tired.
Oh, great. I threw my back out. Hey, what do you think you're doing?
And supervisor.
All right, keep it moving, keep it moving. Jesse. Not too shabby, huh? Look at this. And you guys were worried. Didn't I tell you it looked great, huh? Oh, Buzz, where the heck have you been?
Sorry, buddy. I've been up all night working on a little something.
Hey, wow!
That's quality craftsmanship.
Oh, it's nothing, really. Your basic vacuum foam polycarbonate with a high gloss sealer to bring out the shine.
Hey!
At least ours lit up.
Oh.
Well, that's just great.
Oh, come on, Woody. You do it.
All right, fine.
There you go. Now that's impressive.
Yeah, I guess it does look pretty good.
I wouldn't have done it any different myself.
I saw that.
It's got to be a fun season, right? There. As I was saying, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if there was a booger hanging on my nose or what up here. I'm glad you guys don't mind laughing at other people, and I'm glad some of us don't mind being laughed at. It's a good thing. All right, get off that face and on this one. I want to say before we plow into this fun season, which we will be taking a sabbatical from next Sunday for the children, I want to echo what my wife said about next Sunday. Anything that you can do, any place you can go, that you can go any other time and do any other time that you planned on doing next week, and you can get out of it and be here. This is a one-shot opportunity. The other stuff's going to be there whenever. I realize this was short notice. I understand that, but that's why we got it, because they were passing through and they needed a place on a holiday Sunday, or we wouldn't be getting a ministry like this here probably, because they like big churches. So this is a golden opportunity. I think it's a God opportunity. And I want to say to those of you who have volunteered to do housing, there's 14 kids and 2 chaperones that we're putting up. The rest of their crew was staying in a hotel. Thank you. In fact, we have more people that we signed up for in housing than what we have needed, because the kids come packaged different than what I thought once I got the paperwork. So I thought we were going to be able to divvy them up into 7 homes, and they were packaged for 6 homes, which meant that most of you had to take more on than what you were planning. I just want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for your genuine excitement for this. You know, Jesus said that our religion, and he used that in a positive way, that our religion was really measured by 2 things: how we took care of orphans and widows. And we don't really think about that in America, do we? That really is not on our list at all. But that's what Jesus said. He said your religion is just kind of worthless if you don't do those 2 things. And we live in a country where we don't think about the orphans much, do we? Next Sunday you can think about it. And those of you that are putting these kids up, and I've already heard some of the plans you all have, and you have in your heart to give these kids the time of their life. And I thank you for that. And I want to remind some of you that have planned things like Jeff and Gina, if you take these kids out on 4-wheelers and stuff, just make sure that they're buckled in, they got helmets and all this kind of stuff. I don't know how they're going to go back, because these kids are going back to their countries after a 5-month tour, back to the orphanages. And I don't know what kind of stories they're going to be telling, but it's going to be memories that need to last them a lifetime, literally. So be here and support them. I promise you it's going to touch your heart. It's going to do some stuff on you that needs to be done, by the way. Because you're going to see some orphans get on this stage and worship beyond how we worship. You're going to see kids who have no physical reason to be grateful, and they're going to pour their little souls out before God and before you, and they're going to sing these songs in spirit and in truth. And I hope it makes us all feel a little bit bad. Because we have so much to be grateful for. The only thing these kids are going to get up here and worship about is the fact that He is God, and they know that for a fact. We know that, and we got all the comforts of home to boot. Bring everybody you can for this very special occasion. They're going to transform this place up here. We're just going to do a little bit of praise and worship next Sunday, and we're turning it over to them, and they're going to be doing all kinds of dances and songs and stuff that is just it's going to be so wonderful. So be here for it, okay? And thank you again for those of you who have volunteered to take on more of the load for this. And those of you that are helping prepare the meal for them after church next Sunday, thank you, thank you, thank you, and then we're sending them on their way. All right, how many seen Toy Story before? Wonderful, more than The Lion King. You guys have learned how to do this, right? When we advertise a sermon series, you go rent the movie, or you borrow it from your children, or your grandchildren, and you watch the movie so you know what's going on. Now, how many of you guys really never thought about there being anything spiritual in movies like the Toy Story? Yeah, some of it, like The Matrix, yeah, we see that. There's somebody behind the scenes. The Lion King was a no-brainer. You know there's somebody being intentional in that movie script. But Toy Story, well, probably no one being intentional, but God has a way of commandeering whatever He wants to commandeer in life so He can talk to His humanoids. I want to show you a clip today that we could have pulled from any of the Toy Story movies. There's, what, 3 of them? 3 Toy Story movies. And this is a scene that you will see often in every single one of the movies. Here's just one take of what's going on in this movie.
This is annoying.
It's a what? What is it?
Oh, no, you big lizard. No, I'll never know what it is. Way to go, Rex.
No, turn him around, turn him around.
He's putting him back. Yeah, you're putting him back.
Plus is positive, minus is negative. Oh, bless me.
Red alert, Andy is coming upstairs.
There.
Target, repeat, resume your position now.
Andy's coming, everybody. Keep places hurry.
Push my ear, push my ear, push my ear.
What is it? What? Heck is up? Woody, who's up there with you? Woody, what are you doing under the bed? Nothing. I'm sure Andy was.
All right, how many of you guys understand what's going on here? Okay? There's a slice of real life taking place here. A bunch of toys that, would you not agree that when they're kind of all alone in the room by themselves, having the time of their life, they're just being who they are, right? They're having a blast. But as soon as somebody comes, they think somebody's going to see them, what do? They become inanimate objects again. They're not true to who they really are. And so when Andy, the little boy that owns these toys, are coming, when he leaves the room, the toys always come to life. And they just have the time of their life. And they do things. They're creative. If you've watched the movies, you've seen how creative these toys can get. And they have emotion. They have fun. They're happy. They're sad. They're real. But as soon as somebody's watching, or they think somebody is watching, they collapse and they become inanimate again, and they stop living. How many of you guys know this is a very primary problem we have as human beings? Very, very concerned about who is watching us and what are they thinking and what are they saying. And those thoughts completely dictates not just where we're going with our life, but who we actually become. It dictates our personality, our behavior. It limits our creative flow. It stops us from doing things that are in our heart that we've always wanted to do and be. It crushes dreams because we're so concerned about, is somebody watching and what would they think about this? Here's a story in the Bible about a man, a young man who could have cared less what anybody thought. It's the story of David, and David has become king now of all Israel. And his first mission was to go to the Philistine camp and retrieve the Ark of the Covenant and bring it back to Jerusalem. Along the way, God gave them instructions. They retrieved the Ark and they put it on a new cart. And it's in tow. And God has told them, don't anyone touch the Ark. And there's a spiritual lesson there, saying that flesh can't touch the presence of God because the Ark represented the presence and the power of God. And all God is saying is you can't touch this with flesh. A carnal person cannot have this in their possession. And so, as you know, the ox is pulling the new cart that is holding the Ark of the Covenant, and the cart begins to tip, and one of the priests reach out to steady the Ark and puts his hands on it, and he drops dead in his tracks. And it scares David, and it scares all his staff. And so they, instead of bringing the Ark all the way to Jerusalem, they drop it off at this guy's house, at this threshing floor, and they house it there because they're afraid to bring it to Jerusalem because now they're not sure what it means to bring the presence and the power of God into the city of God. But after it was there for a while, they began to hear all kinds of reports about how blessed the man was who owned the property where the Ark was. And David said, it's time to go get the Ark. And that's where the story picks up, as they have the Ark and they're bringing it into Jerusalem. It says, now King David was told, the Lord has blessed the household of Obed-Edom and everything he has because of the Ark of God. So David went down and brought up the Ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. And when those who were carrying the Ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed a bull and a fatted calf. David, wearing a linen ephod, danced before the Lord with all his might, while he and the entire house of Israel brought up the Ark of the Lord with shouts and the sound of trumpets. And the Ark of the Lord was entering, as the Ark of the Lord was entering the city of David, Michal, daughter of Saul, watched from a window, and when she saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. Now, let's hop down to verse 20 there and pick it back up, because we don't need the middle of the sandwich here to see what's going on. If we pick it back up at verse 20, now David is home. He's married to Michal, Saul's daughter. He has come home. When David returned home to bless his household, Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet him and said, oh, how the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, disrobing in the sight of the slave girls of his servants as any vulgar fellow would. Of course, she's being very sarcastic. David said to Michal, it was before the Lord who chose me rather than your father or anyone from his house when he appointed me ruler over the Lord's people Israel. I will celebrate before the Lord. And I will become even more undignified than this. And I will be humiliated in my own eyes. But by these slave girls you spoke of, I will be held in honor. And Michal, daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. What a story. The story of a young man who, back to his childhood, clearly saw God had a plan for his life. He saw God's fingerprints all over his life. And now he's become a young man who's been exalted by God. He's been exalted from being a little shepherd boy to first a lieutenant in Saul's army, then to king of Judah, then to king of all Israel. And he understood who God was, and he understood that God had a plan and a purpose for his life. And without God in his life, there would be no life. And so when he brings that which represents God, the Ark of the Covenant, into Jerusalem, everything that's in his soul, he cannot contain. He will not suppress it. He refuses to suppress what's really in his heart. He understood he was king. He should be dignified. He was an example to all the people. He understood that the people would probably expect something very specific from him as king. Probably Saul wouldn't have done what David did today. Maybe he was more calm and collected. Maybe he was more royal looking. But in David's heart that day, there was celebration, and there was joy, and there was excitement, and there was praise for God. And he did something that in Hebrew culture was clearly understood, maybe not by us though. He disrobed. He took off his royal robes down to his ephod. And it was a statement. It was a statement that said, yes, I understand I am king of Israel, but who am I compared to you? What was in his heart was to humiliate himself before God and the people, to humble himself. So the king, and in this day, the man who would be referred to as the King of Kings in his time, stripped down to his ephod, and he danced before the Lord. The Bible says, with all his might. It wasn't just some cute little dance where he's like, well, I feel like I've got to do this. God's watching me right now. And he's doing a little shimmy and shake down Main Street. No. This dude is cutting loose, man. Anyone ever saw the movie Footloose? We can play off that too, really, even with what we're talking about today. Whatever David did, his wife, Saul's daughter, is watching from a distance, and she's probably thinking, well, my daddy was king before him, and I never saw my daddy do anything like that. Oh, my, how dignified King David has been today before the people. When David comes home, she is just sarcastic, man. She's, oh, well, you're quite kingly today, aren't you, David? I hope you're proud of yourself. You've embarrassed me. You've embarrassed the whole position of your throne. David says, no one got embarrassed today. I was real today. I was true to who I am today. I was real before God. These servant girls, they could care less. Yeah, they were watching. They're not talking about it. David was saying, it was not man who put me in this position. It was God who put me in this position. And you think I humiliated myself today? You just wait, baby. You ain't seen nothing yet. A man who was true to the things that was in his heart. The Bible says, if we continue reading the story, that from that day forward, Michal was barren. She could not have children. And so we see there's a moral to the story here, that for those who are willing to be true to themselves, real with God, come to life, there's a position of royalty in store for you. You are the ones God will make kings. But for those who are all concerned about who's watching and what will they think, and well, that would be embarrassing, and what would they think? They're always concerned about man's approval and man's disapproval and man's opinion. The moral to the story is that those people end up being barren in life, unproductive. Now, it's interesting because I've been on this planet for a few years, and I'm in the position where I observe human nature. I observe human nature from a very unique position because I'm always in the ditch with people. I know the side of people that you never get to know in this room on Sunday morning. I know what's really going on in people's lives. I usually know about the spiritual condition that goes with the emotional condition and the physical condition sometimes, and the relational and the marriage conditions. And I can tell you this, without exception, I have noticed that people who have found the ability to be liberated and become free from public opinion, worrying and concerned about the approval of other human beings, those type of Christians end up being very productive, fruitful Christians. They have more joy. They just have more life about them. They're fun to be around. Everybody wants to be around somebody who's free to be themselves. Have you noticed that? Yet we ourselves seemingly can't find that freedom. I've noticed that those type of people are very productive in life. Not just spiritually in church, but on their jobs, in their vocations, in their families. People that are true to what's in their hearts become very productive people. They're always the people getting promoted on their jobs. People that walk around very, very concerned about what people think. Always thinking someone's talking about them. Are people that are in bondage. And when you're in prison, you can't be productive. The choice is, do you want to be a king or do you want to be barren? Do you want to be as David? Do you want to be as Michael? Will you be as the toys who are free to live and be alive as long as you think no one's watching? But when somebody is watching, the Bible has much to say about those who worry, are concerned about man's opinion. Solomon said this in Proverbs 29:25. He said, fear of man will prove to be a snare or a prison. But whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. He said, those who are man-pleasers, those who are always concerned about what people think about them, it will be a snare for their life. It will be a trap. It will be a prison for them. Paul said this in 2 Timothy 1:7. He was saying this to Timothy, in fact, but also to us today. He said, for God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power and of love and of self-discipline or self-control. And he's talking about the attributes that overcome the timidity that Timothy had. And what was going on in the story was Timothy was a young man and he was full of dreams and he was full of ideas, but he was very young and he was very intimidated. God placed a call in his life, and Paul confirmed it. Paul raised him up to become a bishop in the first century church. And Timothy was so concerned because when he looked in the mirror, he had very low self-esteem. He had low self-worth. He did not see himself able to do what Paul was training him to do because he was so worried. And here's what he was worried about. He was worried about how will the people older and more seasoned in life think about me having a position above them. What will they think? What will they be saying about me? And he became very timid. Paul said, Timothy, God did not give you a spirit of fear, a spirit of timidity here. He did not give you a spirit that should be concerned about what do people think. Your call of God is bigger than public opinion. And the question for us today, every single one of us on some level, and trust me, from very young children all the way to the most spiritually mature of saints, I have not yet run into a human being that on some level does not battle this. I don't stand before you a man that's perfected in this area. I am also a fellow human being who knows what it is to wrestle with these things. But the question is, why do we care so much about what others think of us? Why do we care so much about what others think about us? And I'm not talking about the good parts of life. We understand the Bible says that we need to be of good reputation if God's going to use us. We understand we have to have a good reputation in the community. Paul said you can't be an elder or a deacon in the church unless you have a good reputation in your community. We understand that. We understand the Bible's very clear that we should have good character. That our behavior should represent Jesus Christ. We understand all that. I understand that it should matter to me what people in this town think about me when it comes to my reputation and my character. I understand that. Character issues, I get it. I understand. Reputation, I get it. I understand. Not caring about public opinion doesn't mean I'm just going to go out and smoke dope or run around with my wife or do whatever I want to do. And who cares what anyone thinks because I think it's okay and this is just me. I'm just being me. That ain't what I'm talking about. The Bible says that we need to be conscious of having a good reputation and good character among the people that know us. And that's not what we're dealing with today, though. We're talking about people who have all kinds of life trapped inside their body and they're not letting it out because of fear of what people think or would think about them. Why do we care so much? Psychologists have analyzed this one to death and they say it comes down to one thing. As human beings, we just have this incessant need for approval. We need approval. And we're conditioned this way from birth, by the way. We take our babies, and when our babies are just learning to pick things up and touch things and crawl around and get into stuff that they should not get into, they do things that are good, and what do we say? Oh, good boy, good girl. They just got our approval, and they look at us and they smile, and they learn from that. This is good. Not just, but you understand, babies don't understand that that's good because you didn't say that was good what you did. You're saying the boy was good. The girl was. They just got acceptance. And when they do something that they should not do, what do we say? Oh, bad boy. Bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you? That's not a movie, so we can't go there. And so we're conditioned from birth. We're conditioned from birth about approval. And we're raised that way on top of just a carnal condition that we just incessantly need approval from others. Every one of us have levels of self-esteem and self-worth today. Good levels or not so good levels. But whatever your levels of self-worth today are, and your self-esteem, it's all a product of this one thing. To what degree you feel a need to be accepted by others. It's all a trickle-down effect. The need for approval. The primary things that flow out of that is the condition of our self-esteem and our self-worth. It's all based on this need for approval. How many's ever heard of AA before? What do you think that stands for? You already know it's a trick question, don't you? So you're not going to say Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, I changed it. This is a true psychological technical term. It's called acceptance addiction. Acceptance addiction. Now, how many here knows what it's like to battle an addiction? I do. It kind of consumes your life. When you're doing the addiction, it obviously is playing a great role in your life. And when you're not doing the addiction, it's consuming most of your brain cells. When you're at work, when you're at home, when you're asleep, when you're at church, it's just permeating who you are. That's what addictions do. That's why there's such a bondage. Acceptance addiction. Where a person's life, the person that we have come to know out here in public, when Andy shows up, the person we have seen and come to know, this is who they are. You are who you are based on the degree of acceptance addiction you have in your life. Everybody here knows what I'm talking about. The inability to be free, to follow your dreams, to follow your emotions, to be real, because you don't know if you'll be accepted or approved of. How many's ever heard of SAD, sad? You've heard the word before, right? Well, here's something that'll make you really, really sad in life. Social anxiety disorder. How many's ever heard that? Did you know that most social anxiety disorder, how many knows what I'm talking about? You get in public places around people, you get all nervous like a bunch of cats in a room full of rocking chairs. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know, and just like, what will they think? Are they looking, oh man, and you're sitting there the whole time you're there in public, you're sitting there in fear because you know everybody's looking at you, everybody's talking about you, and everybody's forming opinions about you. You just know it! And now, man, the emotions are going and you're getting all nervous and stressed out, man, and frantic, and I've known many people through the years that just can't be in public places because of this. It makes them really, really sad. Social anxiety disorder is a product of the incessant need for approval in our life. It's all the same thing. What do people think about me? Makes you sad. For those of you here today, I would pose to you these questions. How many of you guys have changed, intentionally changed your behavior through the years based on what you think others are thinking of you? Now, I have nothing against makeup, ladies. I'm like the old preacher says, every old barn needs a new coat of paint every once in a while. I can't believe I'm repeating the things that I heard preachers say when I was a child. I like my wife to put on makeup when we go out. Not always. I'm not the kind of guy who would do well with a high-maintenance woman who can't ever go do anything unless her hair is perfect and her makeup's perfect and her dress. I wouldn't have done well married to a person like that at all because I'm too spontaneous on the move. I told her the other night, I said, at the middle of the night, I said, if we lived in a bigger place that had like IHOPs open all night and I came to you in the middle of the night and said, I'm really craving pancakes, would you be willing to jump out of bed and just go with me? And she said, sure. But I knew she was glad there was no place open but omelet shop, and we don't count that. But IHOP is coming, they say. I believe it when I see it. How many of you ladies, though, that the phone rang and said, "Oh yeah, I'm coming over to visit." First thing you do is you'd be heading to the makeup table in the bathroom and start putting on the makeup. Don't want to be seen without makeup. You've got to ask yourself, why is that? You really think public opinion will change because you don't have makeup on? How many of you guys, when you're inviting certain people over, make sure you've got the good china out? You know, the more expensive paper plates, not those old cheap ones. The ones that I done heard some of y'all actually wash and put back up and reuse. Oh, don't you laugh. You know some of you guys do that. You know you do. I've seen people here put plastic silverware in there to try to wash and reuse. Your clothing really matters. Your vocation really matters. What will they say if I work here instead of here? The Bible calls it people-pleasing, where our life revolves around what we believe would be public opinion of us. Where I work, the degrees that I can put after my name. What house do I live in? Where is the house located? What kind of cars do I drive? What kind of clothes do I wear? How do I always look when people see me? There's nothing wrong with having all those things as long as they're not based out of the need for approval from man. There are 6 basic signs that will help you know today if you suffer from acceptance addiction. You can analyze your own life today and ask yourself these questions. Are you often concerned about what others are thinking or saying about you? Just ask yourself that. Are you often in situations where you're concerned about what people are thinking or saying about you? Do you have good ideas and intentions but find yourself afraid to act on them? That's a lot of people. Take it from a pastor, that's a lot of people. You have good ideas and intentions, but you find yourself afraid to act on them. Number 3, you have went into debt to outfit yourself with the right house, cars, clothes, and lifestyle to impress others. Only you know the answer to that question. Why you have done what you have done. It's okay to have those things, but why? Number 4, you are consistently seeking others' approval and avoiding their disapproval. 5, are you afraid to speak or perform in public? Oh boy, I just nailed a whole bunch. So ask yourself that question. Why am I afraid to get up in front of a bunch of people and talk, speak, or sing a song, or do a dance, or read a poem, whatever? Why am I afraid of that? There is only one answer, and it is, I'm afraid of what people will think about me. Correct? Find me one person that says, I'm not getting up on that stage, that it is not for the reason, because what will people think about me? I may not do it good. I handed out a book here for years called It's More Than Liking Chicken. You remember that little booklet, Timothy? We were passing out, you were handing it out to a lot of your workers and stuff. It was just preparing people, just a few pages, preparing people that were going to be in positions of ministry. And it was dealing with what in ministry we call PMS, post-ministry syndrome. We also call it the blues. That's people who get up and they do something. They'll preach or they'll teach or they'll sing a song, they'll do a dance like Lorraine and Christine did today. They'll do something publicly, and then when they leave, they just leave just consumed, just beating themselves up and just grilling themselves. Well, I should have done this and I did that and I missed that and I messed that up and I don't know. That's what I'm talking about. So frantically upset because now someone may not approve of them because they did less than perfect. Y'all say it's safe to say I have mastered at least that one, but I don't really care what y'all think when I mess up. The praise team's going, yep. 6th and last of all, you're afraid to speak your mind when you're with people. You have opinions too. You think thoughts too. You have ideas also. But when you're with a group of people and they're having conversation and they're talking about stuff that's really stirring your heart, you've got something to say, but you never say it. because what will they think if I say this? Are you guys beginning to understand from this why this is considered a prison now? I can't get up and really do the things that are in my heart I want to do. I can't really say what's in my heart when I'm around people. I can't just be who I am. I hate makeup. But I feel like if people see me without makeup, they'll say stuff about me. How much that you do in life do you do because of approval of men? And how much of your life are you living and being real, true to who you are? And it's not that hard to overcome acceptance addiction and get real with life. First thing you got to do is just this. Get a realistic perspective. Now, how many of you guys have noticed as you're growing older that your perspective on life and people is changing? So, here's the way it works, and I've seen this even written as little jokes and stuff, but it's true. At 30, I knew everybody was talking about me. I knew it. They didn't even have to tell me. I knew it. At 40, I still knew they were talking about me, but I just really didn't care that much anymore. At 50, I realized nobody had ever been talking about me. There's some golden stuff to growing older and maturing in life, I'm telling you. There's a reason why the older people get, the freer they get, and sometimes too free. How many of you guys notice that a lot of senior citizens don't seem to mind what they say to anybody? You might have to edit this next part, Sean. But I've noticed that my mom, hello Mom, I love you so much. The older my mom has gotten, the more brave and bold she's been just to tell her like it is. It's not always a bad thing, is it? And I'll say, Mom, you do realize you just said that out loud, right? You just realize that at some point in life that realistically you're in the room with people, you're interacting with people, you walk out of the room, and outside of a few busybodies who need to get saved, that has no real life, so gossip is their only life, outside of those people, ain't nobody talking about you when you leave the room. Nobody. We are so into ourselves. I got news for you. I'll think about you concerning your needs, and I pray about you, but when I leave here, I'm thinking about my wife and Hannah pretty much most of the time in work. I'm kind of a workaholic like my dad, so I'm always looking at my agenda, the things that I want to do, and I'm very driven by those things. I'm never sitting around really thinking about you as far as what you did and what you're going to do and how you performed at it. How many has ever seen anyone get on the stage before and hit some sour notes when they sing a special? Dancers get up here at any given time, and all of them not be exactly uniform with their motions. We're not perfect. We're human beings. Get up here and play. I remember a gentleman got up here one time to play guitar and sing, and he started the song 3 different times before he ever got himself in the right key with himself. And afterwards, I was just concerned if he was beating himself up when he left here, because the reality was none of us was giving it a thought. I did not leave here thinking, man, that dude, I can't believe it took him 3 tries to get his guitar and his voice in the same key together. And, what was wrong with that guy? And who does that guy think he is getting up there? And this guy is just a loser. And I don't even know if I want to go to church with this guy anymore. You know why I make more mistakes than anybody here? First of all, because I run my mouth more than anybody else here. And there is no doubt about it in the praise team, I probably make more mistakes than the rest of them put together, because I'm always just doing all this stuff over there, and I'm always the guy, I'm just a natural leader, so I'm sure this is where we need to be going. The rest of them are pretty sure that's not where we're supposed to be going right now in the song. And most of the time, guess who's right? I have to admit, them. I laugh it off. I laugh it off, and then I try to remember next time how to do it right. Man, I was so happy when Raymond's voice cracked a few Sundays ago on Adonai and squeaked. I was so happy about it. Finally, someone besides me got up here and their voice cracked. For me, it happens all the time. Man, I get caught up singing a new song, man, and I don't care about you, and I'm just seeing him, and I'm just pushing stuff out, and we're making stuff up here, and we're playing stuff, and I'm playing stuff. The praise team's just trying to figure out where I'm at, and they've learned me through the years, so they've got an ear, and they know where I'm going. And up here today doing this stuff, I told them, guys, I'm just going to take off with some stuff, and you guys just be ready to go with me and feel it out, man. Just go with me. And man, I start pushing stuff out, and next thing you know, man, I'm going down roads that I'm not sure where I've just taken any of us, and I don't know how to get back home. And you fiddle around, and then you make a few mistakes, and your voice cracks, and who cares? Yes, we try to play with excellence, like David said, play skillfully and sing skillfully. We practice and we prepare. Every Thursday night we're in here trying to hone our craft. We're human beings and we make mistakes. In the real world, nobody cares. You've got to get a realistic perspective. So you're less than perfect on your job and in your marriage and raising your children and going to church and how you sing and how you built your house, and the list goes on and on. Who cares? People aren't watching you and talking about you like you think they are. They're not. And even if you make a major mistake, I've learned this in a small town, even when you make a major mistake and you're hot news today, give it 3 days. It's gone. It's out of everybody's. And we get this mental condition like I could never do anything around here again. Really? Y'all do know that Jimmy Swaggart is still pastoring, right? The church has been built back up. It's kind of large again. I'm not saying I'm a Jimmy Swaggart fan. I'm just telling you this is the way real life works. It'd be amazing how much grace, first of all, the world can show. And if the Christians aren't mature enough, you might even be surprised how much grace they can show. If they're mature enough. You've got to get a realistic perspective on life. No one's looking at you. No one's talking about you. Nobody cares. Everyone's too consumed with themselves. They don't care about you. Second of all, you've got to accept who God made you to be. Psalm 139, it's the passage, if you've been here for the years, you know that's the passage that got its hooks in me and pulled me back to the Father. Because I was on the lam, man. I was on the run from God. And stumbled across this passage. I knew you in your mother's womb. In your mother's womb, I formed you. I formed your little body parts. I knit your body parts together. I knew you in your mother's womb. And suddenly it became personal. And the best part was it said, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Now that doesn't mean much to our culture, so let me translate. What that means is, you have no idea the individual detail I put into your life. You were fearfully and wonderfully. That word fearfully means I was very, very intentionally careful with how I made you as an individual in your mother's womb. I knit your body parts together and I planned all your days. And so we don't wonder, did God really knit our body parts together? We see the evidence of that. But He only said that to let you know, if I was that intentional with your body parts, I want you to understand that all of your days I have also knit together. I have plans for you. The dreams in your heart, they came from heaven, not earth. The things that I put in you that you hope to be and you want to do when you see other people do it, and everything in you is erupting, because how many people that was watching David dance that day were saying, oh, I want to do that so bad. But they didn't do that. God's saying, I put that in you. I put that desire in you. I watch some of you actors get on stage, and the people in the drama here, that's always just such a blessing that Tim pulls together and just does amazing things with you guys. And I watch Michael and Jeff and some of you guys, just too many to name actually, just that you guys are just, you get on stage and you get in character and you don't even obviously worry about what anybody is thinking about you. You just, God put that in you. It begins to flow out in such a real and creative way. The world says it like this: you've got to learn to get comfortable in your own skin. That's how the world is saying it. You've got to get comfortable in your own skin. How many's ever heard that terminology before? You've got to get comfortable being you. You've got to be okay with who you are. You've got to be happy with who you are. Because whatever degree you're not happy with who you are, it's the degree that you're not being who you are. I guarantee it. You show me unhappy people, I'll show you people that are never pursuing their dreams. They're never being true to the things that are in their heart. How many people come into the sanctuary every Sunday morning and in their heart they see themselves exploding in praise, dancing before God, waving hands before someone gives them a command to do so. And churches are filled with people who are eaten up with the fear of man. Honestly thinking, for some twisted reason, someone's going to disapprove of you because you somehow emotionally celebrate Jesus, the one who died for you. I got news for you. When someone breaks out and runs around this room, ain't nobody going home going, I can't believe that dog did that. They made a fool of themselves. I'm just embarrassed for our whole church. I just hope there were no visitors there today. No. We celebrate the ones that celebrate openly like that. We're happy for them. And what happens? 3 will run around the room and 200 will go, yeah, you go! You go around that room. We're celebrating what? Jesus at that point? Not most of us. We're celebrating those individuals' freedom to do what they just did. Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. Right, look around the room before you do that. Make sure there's plenty of others doing that. You don't want to all of a sudden be the only one. We need to stop worrying. We need to accept who God made us to be. The desires in your heart, they define who you are. That's who you are to God, and that's the only one it matters to. That's who God made you to be. The things that are in your heart. You've got to overcome this thing by getting a realistic perspective, accepting who God made you to be, and last of all, you've got to learn to only be concerned about what one person thinks about your life. And that's God. Look at Luke 12:4. Let's look at several passages here. There's several. We could pull out dozens. Let's just look at these. Luke 12:4. Jesus says, I tell you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body and after that can do no more. What do you say after that? Do you know? He said, only be concerned about the one who holds your soul and destroys your soul. Look at John 12, verse 42-43. Yet at the same time, many even among the leaders believed in him, Jesus, but because of the Pharisees, they were watching, you see, they would not confess their faith for fear they would be put out of the synagogue. Oh, they were going to get kicked out of the club. For they loved praise from men more than praise from God. Well, what will the Pharisees think? They were more concerned about what men thought than what God thought. Look at what Paul says here in Galatians 1:10. It says, am I now trying to win the approval of men or of God? Or am I trying to please men? If I were still trying to please men, I would not be a servant of Christ. Dozens of passages that deal with the man-pleasing spirit of human beings. We should only be concerned about what God thinks about us. He is the only one who holds our soul, our eternity in His hand. He's the only opinion that matters to me, and I want His opinion of me to be, well done, good and faithful servant. What done signifies I did something. God's not impressed because I preach a sermon. God's not impressed because I sing a song or build a building. Or God's not impressed because I went 6 hours without an intentional sin. God is impressed when I am me. Good job, son. You were who I made you to be. You became what I saw when I knit you together in your mother's womb. All those little desires and dreams, man, to sing and to play and to dance. I would like to dance. Some of us probably don't need to dance in public. It's not because we worry about public opinion. My daughter will tell you I only know how to do one dance, and Terry, it is the noodle. And the noodle works with some songs. It'll work with some of the Planet Shaker stuff, but it won't work with hymns. It won't work with Bill Gaither music. And I'm not really worried about what you think about me other than the fact that I don't want to scar you where I completely turn you against ever wanting to watch anyone dance again. Dance is not one of the things in my heart. Playing music, singing, those are the things that God put in my heart. We got to come to Him, the one who said, I've come to give you life and life abundant, full life. We've got to come to Him and give Him our lives fresh, which doesn't mean just to say a sinner's prayer, but to say, I give you my life, to be true to who you made me to be. He promised full life, life abundant. Our life is not full because we're not being everything in our heart, because we're so worried about what people will think about us. In our praise and worship, in the ministries that God has called us to do. I'm so grateful for, when Erica came to me several months ago, not that many months ago, just 3 months ago at the very most, said, man, this is in my heart to do. And you could tell she was just a little apprehensive about it. And it said, I know this isn't a normal kind of ministry. Is anyone here under the impression that there's anything that's normal in this place? Bring your ideas. They'll probably fit right in. It's a running ministry, and she had the manual, she had all the stuff, and you could tell it's like I don't know if I can do this, I want to do this, and she came to my house and she said, well, how do you do this? And how do you do that? I said, Erica, just go with it. Just go with it. I promise you, the first time you speak to those people, it may be a little bit hard to push it out. The second time it's going to get easier. The third time easier. What's it like now, runners? She flowing pretty good? Does she seem shy to you? I love Erica because she's a very animated person. And she doesn't care what you think about that. That's how God made her. Some were made to be very cool, calm, and collected and laid back. If that's really you, that's who we need you to be. Those of us that are more Tigger personalities depend on those of you that are more, well, not Eeyore, but don't really want any Eeyore personalities around me. They bring me down. But Christopher, there you go. In our ministries, in our businesses, are we being real? The stuff that's in your heart, entrepreneur ideas, your opinions, some things that the rest of us probably need some of your opinions, some of your ideas. We're a body. You will find life as you express yourself in those things. In praise here, if you were here last Wednesday night, I can't go into all that. You understand that life begins at the throne of Jesus Christ, and that life came out as one thing first: praise unto God. In our ministries, in our businesses, in our vocations, in our opinions, in our ideas, and the Bible is full of stories that God has written about people who were willing to rise above public opinion. They knew who they were. David was one of those kind of people. Noah, no doubt, was one of those kind of people. 120 years, this dude is building a big old boat in the middle of the desert. These people don't even know what rain from the sky is yet. It came from springs in the ground. They've never seen rain. They don't know what a flood is. They don't even know what a boat like this is. They have no idea. The Bible never says that people mocked Noah and made fun of him, but it just stands to reason that this dude became the village idiot. What's he doing? You know people were making fun of him, but he stayed the course. He stayed true to what God called him to do. The Bible is full of stories of people who were willing to do that and be that. Guys, there's a lot of things I get up to you and I preach because I see it in God's Word and I know it to be true, and I may have tested the waters. I may not be as deep into it over my head yet, but I've tested enough to know it's true. We need to get this. And there's other things that I'm telling you, I know that if you can hear this and get this, I personally have experienced the life that it can bring. You know, some of us I can't say that God took me down the path that I went in life, because God would never lead me away from the Father's house to go to the pig pen. That was my decision. But God has a way of taking every situation and using it. I grew up such a shy little kid, man. Low self-esteem, insecure. raised in a good home. It wasn't my family's fault. My family was always pushing me, sing, use your talents, build, do this stuff. I don't know why. I guess I was always, believe it or not, one of the shortest kids in my class up to my junior year in high school. I was always this frail little guy that just, I wasn't a star athlete. I wasn't the brainchild at school. I was the kid that got lost in the crowd. And life was hard. And my senior year of high school, we filled out some forms. What's the dreams of your heart? What does it you really want to be? And I shocked everybody because these things were read publicly. Because I put, I want to be a rock star. They're looking at me going, little Scotty Catron wants to be a rock star? Boy, is he delusional. This is the guy that I'm even afraid to have a conversation. If a pretty girl walked by me, I just look at the ground. It's like, who am I? I'm not worthy to look upon you. When all the cool guys got around me, I just kind of, slumped back into the shadows But they said, what's your dream for life? My mom would have expected me to write down, to be a mortician, an undertaker. That's my dream, because that's what I said I was going to do. I said, I'm going to tell them the truth. I want to be a rock star. How am I going to be a rock star? I ain't getting on no stage. I know everyone's going to make fun of me. You know what happened in those 4.5 years that I was running from God? I was destructive in my party behavior. I drank till I passed out. But I was the kind of guy, I wasn't a fighter when I started drinking. I was the other guy, the one with the lampshade on his head. This new me started coming out. Alcohol just kind of suppressed all this other stuff, and suddenly this new me started coming out. Now, please hear me, I am not instructing any of you shy people battling low self-esteem to go on a drinking binge. God's grace saved me, but there's many that did not get saved through that lifestyle. But here's what happened. A day came where I began to realize that there was a me in me that could come out. I just needed a lot of help. And when I gave my life to the Lord, I decided God could take the place of alcohol. If alcohol can bring that out of me, how much more can God bring that out of me? Amen. And you know what? In my own mind, Jonathan, I became a rock star. I did become a rocker. Star is a very subjective term. It depends on who you ask. There's still people around here now in their 30s or something that hurt us around here that they just can't believe I'm still living around here, and why am I not on the road and rich and famous and everything? Because that's how they saw us. And there's other people that just probably thought very different things. But I got on stages and we rocked. And it was in the 80s. We had choreography, man. And I had a remote keyboard, a keytar, that some of you non-band people call it. And we're up there, man, and this is the 80s. The 80s is not like today. Today, people don't dress good on stage. They don't care about their appearance at all. They look like everybody out in the crowd. Not in the 80s. In the 80s, we had things like spandex and big hair. And when we got on stage, we did choreography. And it was a 4-piece band. It was myself on keys and a guitar player, bass player, and drummer. And me and the 2 guitars, man, we'd come out at the right place on the stage, man, and we're up here and we got the choreography like this. You know what I'm talking about? 80s people? Come on, let's hear it, 80s people! Yes. And man, we got our hair going around like this. And see, you do this, because my hair touched my belt in the back. And so when I did this, it's flopping over here and it's coming back, and you're feeling it, man. And you're into it, and the music is loud. I know some of you wimps think we're loud here. You have no idea what loud is. We toured with Stryper for a very short season. I thought I knew what loud was. And Res Band did damage my hearing, I think. I was rocking. That's who I was. That's who I was. And God peeled stuff off of me. Before long, I'm sharing things at those concerts, and I'm teaching, and I'm preaching. And before long, some of the guys in the band said, man, you're preaching more than we're playing music at these concerts. There was something coming out of me. And finally, the day came, I said, boys, I obviously can't do this anymore. I'm not a rocker anymore. God turned me into a preacher somewhere along the line. I love getting up here. It's not about me. You know, I don't like birthday parties about me. I don't like anything I don't like spotlights on me when it's about me. But when it's about being the ambassador of God and leading worship and preaching, man, give me a microphone. I've been on stage before thousands of people. Believe me, the more people that's out there, actually, the less nervous you usually get because you don't see anybody looking at you. I love big crowds. And when people started hearing what we were to do here, they laughed. And I've told you the stories. I had a man who called himself an apostle. You've got to watch the self-proclaimed people out there. Called himself apostle so-and-so, and when a bunch of guys at a conference anointed me and sanctioned what God was calling here at Cornerstone Family Church, there was one apostle in the group that should have never been standing there, and he said, you're going to do what? He told me, he said, you will fail. He said, you are crazy. And he started cackling out with laughter to make his point about how crazy I was. I didn't know. It's like, could this guy be true? I don't know. We're about to find out. I came to a place in my life where my wife will tell you, if there's one human being that just is not concerned about your opinion about me beyond my reputation and my character, I could care less. Just don't care. That's why we preach a kingdom message, though it's not cool with some people in the Appalachian Mountains who are still waiting to get snatched away. I like to preach, let's take over. That offends some people because they don't want to take over. They just want to go. I don't care what your opinion is of that. I'm preaching it, baby. I'm preaching it. We got to be this thing that God's called us to be because it's the only place we're going to find freedom and life abundant. And today you guys are filled with dreams and giftings and talents and ideas and opinions and just all kinds of things that are in you that are just bottled up, just waiting to get out. And if you will start letting it out, only care what God thinks and stop caring about what other people think, I'm telling you, God is going to wipe this earth with you. We've got to get out of this public opinion thing. Who cares what man thinks? It only matters what God thinks. You with me? Yeah. All right. Listen. I know it's probably 12 o'clock. I didn't bring my clock up here because today I had a 2-page outline. I usually just have a half a page. So I couldn't remember this stuff. So, but before you leave, I'm the only one that has to be somewhere. I'm leaving on a pastor's retreat at 2 o'clock today. 8 pastors, man, going to fish and bike the Greenbrier Trail and just get into some kingdom conversation. And I'm excited to get there. And that's probably better than anything you guys have got on your plate today. And I'm still in no hurry. So if you want free from this, I want you to get up and come up here. And if you're one of those people that always says, boy, I wish I had went up there, but I'm afraid to go up there, today get up and come up here. Maybe that's where you need to start. Just get up and come up here. Break out of that stuff. Stop seeing yourself as an observer here. Stop seeing yourself as a spectator. Man, get up here and let's just pray. Let's let God set us free, man. Set us free. We got a room here full of dancers and praisers that are afraid to let it out. A room full of entrepreneurs that's afraid to let their ideas out because what if it fails? Well, what if it fails? Who cares? Are you going to hell if your business idea fails? But what if it succeeds? So, here's what I'm going to leave you with. All right? I think I saw this on the wall in your all's house. This is so cool. You've probably seen this in a bunch of places. We got to learn to sing like nobody's listening and dance like nobody's watching. How many has little girls in your home? Does Isabella like to dance? She's still young enough, she probably doesn't care. Hannah, when she was little, her and I danced all over the place. And she would dance all over. Just dance. My little dancer, she's all over the place. I saw what God put in her heart. And then she hit 6, 7 years old, and suddenly the fear of man crept in. And And now I come on, baby, let's dance. No, Daddy, no. And then she'll start doing this. No, Daddy. And I asked her, well, baby, we need to talk. Why don't you want to get up there and dance with Daddy more? She said, well, people will see. Yeah? And? That's the idea. People will see us dancing. We'll be doing the noodle. It'll be great. And that's when she said, well, Daddy, that's all you know how to do, though, is the noodle. I said, but that's the funnest dance. You know, man, just go, man. Noodle, man. It's liberating. We're gonna just all do the noodle in here one day. We're gonna get some planet shakers going, and we're all gonna do the noodle, and we're gonna find out who really cares about public opinion and who doesn't. Got to learn to dance like nobody's watching, and do it every day in your life. Get comfortable in your own skin. The skin God puts you in. Forget all this mess that you think is going on that isn't really going on around you. And let's get real and let's just get some life, okay? Father, I thank you for these people that are up here today. Lord, in their mother's wombs, you knew every one of them. You knit their little body parts together and you planned all their days. They were very carefully, meticulously made, Lord. And you put in them hopes and dreams and desires and ideas. You put in them, Lord, the ability to be much more than most of us are being. Today, Lord, may your word have a cleansing effect to our minds, our souls. May we hear these words and buy into it today, Lord. And may we walk out very determined, yes, I am going to be free. I don't care what anybody thinks. And Lord, with the release of that will be the release of great apostles and prophets and pastors and teachers and evangelists and worshipers and business builders and people, Lord, that will drastically affect our community and our whole nation. You came to give us life and life abundant. Today, Lord, we make intentional steps to begin to embrace that by releasing all this junk, all these thoughts, these stupid thoughts, Lord, that make us chase after the approval of men. Today, Lord, we break this addiction over this house for acceptance. And Lord, we say to you, as long as you accept this, we're good. We're good to go. All right, guys. There's always homework. Always homework. What is going on in your life? What's going on in your life that you know that you were thinking about while I've been talking? You're thinking about some very specific things in your life. Boy, he's right. He's nailing me right here and right here. What are those things? This week, starting today, break it. Break it. Break it. When you come in here next Sunday, if you're one of those people, which should be everybody in here, that has the heart of David, but you're afraid to let go, because for some crazy reason you think someone's going to think something bad about you, let it go. That's why the Bible says to shout before the Lord with a voice of triumph and lift holy hands to Him and dance before Him and all that stuff. You can do that. God said it's okay. You can do that. Do that. Set yourself free and let's be, okay? I love you guys. I bless you. I'll see you Wednesday night and just grab everything.